Okay, for question number 1, we are doing y equals mx plus b again. So that means that we have to find our m and our b. Now, slope is a new word, but slope just means constant rate of change, and its letter is m. And then y-intercept is, of course, our b. So now we just have to go through and find those. So what is the first thing we do when we see a table? We draw some arrows. Now, these 2 rows right here have negatives. I don't feel like dealing with negatives, so I'm going to go here and here. So on this right side over here, what would I do? I would subtract 50 minus 60. Well, when we do 50 minus 60, 60 minus 50 is 10, and then we take the sign of the bigger number. Well, 60 is bigger, and 60 is a negative, so that's going to be a negative 10. And then over here on our left side, what would we do? We would subtract 1 minus 0, and that would give us 1. So remember that m, or slope, is what side over what side? It's right over left. So I would take my right side, which is negative 10, and I would put it over 1, and that equals negative 10. And then how do I find b, or how do I find the y-intercept? It's across from x equals 0. So I go down my x's until I get to 0, and there's 0. So my y-intercept is 60. And then I have y equals mx plus b. So where the m is, I would put negative 10, and where the b is, I would put 60. So I would have y equals negative 10x plus 60. Okay, for the next one, same thing. It's the first thing we do when we just see a table. We draw some arrows. So I, once again, see some negatives right here, but I also see some negatives right here, so it's really just whatever negatives you prefer to think about. I'm going to think about these negatives. What do we do on the right side? We take the bottom number, and then we subtract it from the top number, so we have negative 0.0 minus 0. And if we subtract 0 from anything, that's going to give us the same number, so we have negative 0.05 on the right side. And then on the left side, what will we do? We would take 1 and subtract off 0, so 1 minus 0 gives us 1. Remember, for slope is the same thing as m, and m is what side over what side? It is right over left. So I would take my right side, which is negative 0.5, and I would divide it by my left side, which is 1. Well, anything divided by 1 gives us that exact same number, so this would be negative 0.5. Then we have our y-intercept, and how do we find our y-intercept? Our y-intercept is across from x equals 0. So I'm going to go down my x's until I hit 0, and boom, there's 0. And what's across from 0? 0. I would have y equals mx plus b. So I'd have y equals negative 0.5 plus 0. Oh, sorry, I forgot my x. X plus 0. And we need to come over here, and because it's adding 0, we don't actually have to do that, so we can go ahead and take that off, and we would have y equals negative 0.5x. Okay, for this one, what's the first thing we do when we see a table? We draw some arrows. I don't want to deal with my negatives, so I'm going to jump to this row right here. On that right side, what do? I subtract 8 minus 2. And 8 minus 2 gives us 6. On the left side, what do? I subtract 2 minus 0. And 2 minus 0 gives me 2. M, or slope, is what side over what side? Right over left. So I would do 6 over 2, and that would give me a slope of 3. And then how do I find my y-intercept? It's across from x equals 0. So I'm going to go down my x's until I hit 0, and there's 0. So my y-intercept is 2. So what would my equation be? I would have y equals 3x plus 2. All right. First thing I do when I see a table, I draw my arrows. I don't want to deal with these negatives right here, so I'm going to jump to over here. On the right side, what would I do? I would do 3 minus 5. So we would do 5 minus 3, and that gives us 2, and then we keep the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is that negative 5, so this is a negative 2. Then I would do what on the left side? 3 minus 1, and that would give me 2. So for my slope, I would have what over what? Negative 2 over 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 gives us 1, and then we have a negative 1. I'm going to write my equation, y equals negative 1x plus 6. Okay, we'll ignore this part up here for now with these arrows that I've already drawn. We're going to jump down here. All right, when you see a table, what's the first thing you do? Draw some arrows. What do I do on that right side? I would do 15 minus 10, which gives me 5. What would I do on the left side? I would do 3 minus 2, and 3 minus 2 gives me 1. So my slope, or my m, would be what over what? It would be 5 divided by 1, which gives me 5. Now, how do we find y-intercept? Y-intercept is across from x equals 0. Well, if we look, we have x equals 0 right here, but we don't have a number for it. So I'm going to walk you through how to find this number. If you look, to go from 1 to 0, we would subtract 1. To move backwards from 1 to 0, we subtract 1. Well, from here, we're adding 1 every single time, right? So we've got 2 to 3 is plus 1, 3 to 4 is plus 1, 4 to 5 is plus 1, right? And over here, we have 10 to 15, which is plus 5, 15 to 20, which is plus 5, and 20 to 25, which is plus 5. Well, I'm moving backwards. So if I subtract 1, what does that mean I do on my right side? Over here, every time I'm adding 5. So if I move backwards, then I need to actually subtract off 5. And that would give me a y-intercept of 0. So I'd have y equals mx plus b, where m would be 5 and b would be 0. But remember, if my b is 0, I don't need to include it. So I'd have y equals 5x. Okay, next one. When I see a table, what do? I draw some arrows. On this right side over here, what do? I do 12 minus 7. And 12 minus 7 gives me 5. So to go from 7 to 12, we add 5. All right, and then how do we go from 6 to 9? We would add 3. 6 plus 3 equals 9. 7 plus 5 equals 12. Okay, so my slope, which is m, is what over what? 5 over 3. And we're not going to simplify that whatsoever. We're going to leave that the way it is. Now, once again, they did not give us the 0 for us to find our b. So we have to find our 0 ourselves. So let's look at the pattern that we have going on here. Every time over here, I add 3. To go from 6 to 9, I add 3. To go from 9 to 12, I add 3. To go from 12 to 15, I add 3. And then right here, to go from 3 to 0, we subtract off 3. So that means I'm moving backwards. Well, over here on this side, I'm adding 5 each time. So 12 to 17, add 5. 17 to 22, add 5. So right here, going backwards, if I subtract 3 over here on this side, what do I subtract over here on this side? Take a look at all of these numbers right here. What would I subtract over here on this side? I would subtract off 5. So I would have 2 minus 5. Well, 2 minus 5, 5 minus 2 gives us, oops, didn't want to do that. 2 minus 5 gives us 3. And then we keep the sign of the bigger number. And if we look right here, that negative 5 is bigger, so this is going to be a negative 3. When it comes to my equation, I would just have y equals 5/3 x minus 3. All right, a farm has 75 acres of wheat. The farmer can harvest the wheat from 12 acres per day. In how many days will all of the fields be harvested? I don't like that. I don't like that either. We're going to take that off. Okay.